Hello and welcome to episode 12 of this Let's Play Factorio Space Exploration series. In the last episode we set up our beryllium and iridium production, so we've got those lovely materials in the factory. We also built a whole lot of cargo rocket silos and landing pads so that we've got a much more reliable source, a flow of materials into this platform. And we began on our journey down this astro science pack. And in this episode, really, it's just about continuing that journey down the astro science pack. That's the first thing. I don't know. I mean, it shouldn't. I'm hoping that should be a relatively simple thing. Simple and, in relative terms. It's just a factory. I've just got to build a factory to do the job. So hopefully that shouldn't be too bad. But, we've got a whole lot of other sciences to come afterwards. I'm hoping that we're going to get a lot of that done in this episode. That's the plan anyway. So let's just do it.
Are you gonna feel that? Are you gonna feel that? Okay. Are you gonna feel that? Are you gonna feel that? Are you gonna feel that? Are you gonna are you gonna feel that? Are you gonna feel that? Okay. Are you gonna feel that?
A lot of time has passed. A lot of time has passed. The game clock puts it about that bit of time. That's about 40 hours worth of work. But I don't think. I would say that probably half that time has been spent up here building stuff, and the other half of that time has been elsewhere, either trying to pass some time, because these science packs. We build a science pack, and that unlocks the next science pack. And we've almost got to wait for that one to research before we can build the next one. So there's like these constant breaks in between each of these science packs. So either to break the time, waste some time doing something else, or to just upgrade and to see to problems and bottlenecks. Because this has been an absolute beast. But we're a long ways towards the finishing line. This is really. It feels like I'm really settling into the game now. I don't know. I may have mentioned that I felt like I was getting my slippers off probably 2 or 3 episodes ago. Yeah, I'm lighting the fire. Getting the fire ready so I can sit down in my wingback chair and light up a smoking pipe or something. With my favourite music on. Slippers on at the moment. I'm just kind of lighting a fire. We're getting there. Anyway, what's been happening? So we've got 8 of the science packs mostly done. The 4 astrological science packs are down. The 4th one, which is this one here, I need the energy science pack to unlock it, and I also need the energy science pack to unlock this building, and I also need some kind of space probe that requires constructing a rocket and sending it somewhere to get some kind of space probe data card and I'm not ready for that yet. And I can't unlock it, so there's no real point in building that. So we've got Astro Science Pack 1, 2, 3. 4 is built. I think some of this might need to change, but I've got the space to move into it. We've also got Material Science Pack 1, 2, 3, and then 4, same again. I need the Energy Science Pack to unlock this. And there are some other materials. There's like some kind of pink flame thingamy-bob that I don't have, can't do. And I really need to build it somewhere else where it's probably more important. It's over here, it's not really required. It's required down here as like an ancillary process, but I think it's required much more important in the Energy Science Pack. So that's kind of where we are. Now, for a long time, it felt like the critical things, the things that I was short on, were the thermofluids. So I was really kind of kicking myself not working my way towards the Energy Science Pack and getting the cryonite slush version, because that would give me much greater efficiency rates. But because I've been away so long, what actually happened, I was running out of iridium. Iridium was becoming critical on Novice, so I needed more iridium. So I popped over to Mariel, which is where I'm making the iridium, and I basically doubled the production of the iridium that I'm making. So hopefully over a bit of time, that that kind of production, it tends to take a little bit of time to work its way through into what I see up here. But with a bit of time, that should give me much better rates. But in terms of the bottlenecks up here, what it seems like to be is that everything is coming down to these blank data cards, and specifically how we recycle them, because at the moment all of the junk data cards that we get, we've only got a process that gives us 70% of the data cards back as data cards that we can use. The rest of it we have to scrap, and once we have the energy science, which is probably next, then we can unlock other variants of this recipe. This is probably when I said way back when I was so bullish. I can be quite confident, arrogant. Call it what you like. I can do this. I'm going to back myself to get it done. And this recipe, this single recipe down here in this corner of the factory, this seems to be the critical thing. This seems to be determining the speed at which we can go now. So I'm going to have to feed in some extra stuff. I think because we can't get access to the full version for some time, so it's going to be staged. So I'm going to need every version of it. I can't plan for the final version like I have done in other areas of this factory. So I'm going to have to feed into this corner of the factory. I'm going to have to feed in 100 degree thermofluid, 273 degree thermofluid, and cryonite rods, and I haven't really given myself space to do that. I think I might have to move all of this stuff out. But my spaghetti thing that was kind of coming around here, I think I can maneuver stuff around. I think I can get it done. I don't think it's going to be too bad. But, hubris is a funny old thing. You build something and you think it's right. I mean, to my credit, I think that all of the belts in the bus to it are right. I just didn't see. Yeah, I couldn't have known. Well, I might have known, but I didn't. So that's where we are at the moment. In terms of the factory itself, we're getting a decent structure to it now. I am quite enjoying the structure that I'm finding. So we've got all of the sciences down here, and these are kind of the intermediate processes. Then we've got a kind of a big gap, which was kind of set about because this is where I was going to put my rocket silos, and I've just kind of kept the space. So this is kind of space that's just kind of miscellaneous. If I find a process that I need to put somewhere, this is a good space to put it because it's got access to both buses. This is the main bus, the ones that are mostly coming from the rocket silos. So it's kind of worked out really, really well, this setup that I've got. And I've been thinking about future. I've got 8 more science packs to do. I've got the 8 of them down. So in my mind, it should occupy about the same amount of space. So in my mind, why wouldn't I start building on the top half? That's where I kind of am. It would really bring this factory to it would bring the symmetry round to the factory in a way that I would really, really, really like. And I know I said that, in this space here, if I build in there, I'm going to confine myself in all sorts of ways. But I think what I'm going to do, if I come up here and work my way across, so I'll start off with energy science over here, and then I work my way to biological science pack. I know me just saying work my way toward. All of this stuff is difficult. You know, I think pretty much I'm going to need a whole other base to bring in holmium for the energy science pack, and I'm going to need a whole other base to bring in stuff for vitamin melange here, and none of that is trivial by any means. But I think, you know, I think my original plan was to just carry on going across, just building, because I mean I have freedom to do pretty much what I like, and the only real reason why I would do it this other way, where I'm building on the top half, is because of my own vanity and because I want a nicely symmetrical-ish factory. You know, I don't want this lopsided thing. And this, you know, it's not trivial that, you know, I'm building over here, and the further I get away, these are all my shopping mall stuff is over here, like conveyor belts, pipes, scaffold. It's all over here. So anytime the further I get away, the longer it takes to get supplies. So I feel like I'm going to build on the top half. I've kind of decided this already, and I've decided that I'm going to kind of try and follow the same philosophy that I've just kind of found myself with this bottom half. So I'm going to have this main bus that runs through the middle. I'm going to create a gap. I don't know, whatever this gap is, 20, 30, 40, 50 tiles or something. I'll just leave the gap, and then I'll have another bus which deals with all these intermediate flow products. And I'm imagining that some of these are going to have to work their way up to this intermediate one. And then I'm going to do energy science pack and biological science pack. This stuff up here, this is my rocket silos for dealing with scrap, and my science. These are ultimately flexible. I can move these. I've already moved them several times already. There would not be a problem to move them somewhere else if it ever came to it. So that's the plan for the future, is to kind of move into this top half. I think it would give a much better, anyway, I've said it already, I think it would give a much better, nicer architecture to the factory. But in terms of building up here, I think we're going to have to take a pause. Because as I said, we need some holmium, and that's going to require a whole new base. None of the planets that I have at the moment, I said I have holmium, so I'm going to need a whole new base for that. And, you know, I don't really want to crack on with building the factory up here if I don't have access to holmium. Now, if I go and build the base for holmium, then as I'm building the factory up here, it can build up the supplies in that base. You know, in a sequence sort of order, I want to do the holmium first, and then I want to come back here and do the bit of science that relates to that holmium. So that's probably the plan. I have been exploring. You know, let's carry on. I have been exploring. So where was I going to go? I think it was... No, it wasn't here. Where was it? Rivos? Here. Yes. So I have been exploring. We've got a whole planet here, which I've kind of explored. This thingy, Bob, it tells me that I've got a 3% threat. So that tells me that somewhere on this planet is a single nest. But I can't find it. No, it's somewhere here. But it's not obvious because we've got these kind of volcanic regions which are red. So I've had a really good look. I don't know where it is. I think I'm going to have to land and just run everywhere and try and find it, because that's going to be really annoying. 3%. I just got to wipe that out so I don't have to worry about a premature or anything. And it's quite a small planet, but you know, don't need much from it. I just need the holmium. So this is where I'm going to come next. Just one last thing. Whilst I was upgrading my iridium on Mariel, so where are we? Here we are. So originally I just had this block of pulverizers dealing with the iridium. Now I've got this, and I've opened up some new mines. I've got that down here, I've got that down here. I've probably got mines worth about 14 or 15 million worth of iridium set up. Should last me a significant period of time. But as I was up here, wandering about, exploring, you know, because I needed this iridium, I found something. It kind of confused me a little bit. So I went into this structure, and there's a whole load of biters' nests. I'm not really kitted out for dealing with any kind of threats, you know, personal threats to me. You know, particularly on this planet, which is just, there's no biters here, so I've got no turrets, I've got no ammunition, I've got nothing up here to deal with them. So I went in, saw the biters, came out, was a little bit confused, went back in again just to check that I saw what I was right, and yes, that's what I saw, and then came out again. So at some point in the future, I'm gonna go in this thing and find out what's in it. It's quite interesting. So it feels to me like some sort of dungeon, which would be a really cool addition to the game. That is cool. I like that. So this might happen quite soon, to be honest, because I'm quite excited about doing it. Now, I think I planned to do it sooner, but I made some lasers to put in my armor. And because I've got this thruster suit, it won't accept the lasers. I need a proper set of armor. So I think what I'm going to have is a situation where I'm now carrying around 2 sets of armor, because I'm going to need both. One for building and exploring, etc., and then a proper set of full armor for combat. Well, I'm guessing that there's going to be several of these things around the place. Who knows? Anyway, let's get on with it. We've got another planet to crack on with. Exciting times. Sweet. Okay, we have a pretty significant, potentially overbuilt base here. You know, if you've been watching the videos, this is how I do things. But you know, in fairness to me, you know, I follow the game time quite closely. I like to keep a track of where I am with it. And building this base took about a third of the time that it took to build all those 8 sciences on the platform. You know, once I get into the flow of building something relatively simple, something that I know, something that I've built, I don't know, dozens of times before, not necessarily dozens of times, you know, I'm dealing with different recipes, but they're simple enough that anyway, I get into a flow of building, and things just take place. Things just happen. Anyway, let's go through it. What we have, the first thing I built was iron and steel ingots. Now, in the back of my mind, throughout this playthrough, to be honest, in the back of my mind, I'm constantly thinking about resources on novice, because those resources are going to run out at the moment. Iron in particular, I think I've got a few patches of iron that I haven't put any mines on yet that I can still open up. But at some point in time, I'm going to reach a point where I'm going to need to defeat a whole load of biters' nests in order to find further patches of iron, and that's going to be further work. Now, I know we get further access to other technologies that might make the job easier, but if I can find patches of iron on other planets, then I want to make use of them, and that's really what I'm trying to do here, because we've got a lot of iron on this planet, and I feel like it's really easy to get access to. It's a small planet. The patches are relatively closely, if I put a train track down here, I've got access to, I don't know, what have I got here? 50 million iron a train station in here would give me access to a lot of iron. So future-wise, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I want to bring in some steel and iron ingots into Novice, potentially, in the future. Not definitely, but, I just want to have access to it if I choose to do so. So that's... And also because, if I want that, then I want instant access to it. I don't want to have to wait. So I'm going to set it all up, and then if I ever find myself with not enough iron or steel, then I've got it right straight away. That's the plan with this particular part of the factory. And to be honest, this kind of determines other parts of it now, because now I need pyroflux processing. Now I definitely need sulfuric acid. If there was a question of what I was going to do with power, now that I need to have this, I need sulfuric acid, so I need... Well, I may as well have uranium. Anyway, we're getting too far. So that's what this is to do. This is to do with iron and steel ingots. Then we have a whole load of stuff to do with oil processing. Pretty standard affair, really, to be honest. It's not too different from the other bits that I've built. We need oil, and we need sulfur, and we need sulfuric acid. We also need rocket fuel. So all of this is good. We then have the system of factory that's going to deal with any of the stone and sand excess. So this is becoming a feature now. I could develop a block, and okay. So way back at the beginning, when I don't know, it was at the beginning when I started exploring space, quite a long time ago. I thought about building a small factory that could only build rocket parts, and then the plan was to put that on every base. Now, logistically, thinking about it now in hindsight, that would have been a complete nightmare, because we probably don't have access to all of the things that we need to make that on every planet. Making copper and plastics and everything else to deal with that would be a logistical nightmare. And to be honest, the game is kind of set up to be able to transport rocket parts intergalactically. It's kind of set up for us to be able to do that. So that idea of making a factory to deal with just rocket parts, that was probably the wrong idea. However, what I think I probably... If I was ever to do this again, I think probably what the starting point that I would have is that I would need a small little factory that I would jump on every planet that I went to, and on that base there would be the oil processing, probably something like this, probably not dissimilar, well, probably set up completely differently, but that sort of production rate. And then I would need something like this again to deal with any of the stone and sand excess, because every planet that we go to, we're making stone and sand excess, and we need to deal with that some way, and it's just really useful to chuck it at rocket fuel. And then if we're making rocket fuel, then we need iron, and if we're making iron, then we may as well make steel so that we can do the uranium properly. So that's what this is to do. This is purely here to deal with the iron and steel that we need for the rest of the factory. So steel for uranium fuel rods, iron for sulfuric acid. Now I've set this up separately because I know I've got the steel and the iron ingots that we've already looked at, but I want to have something very simple and basic that the rest of the factory can rely on. I don't want to have to set up the factory that, potentially there might be a problem with pyroflux with vulcanite in the future. I might run out, and then over time I wouldn't have any iron or steel, and then I wouldn't have any uranium power or sulfuric acid, and all of those things are bad. So I just want the iron and steel to be something simple. And that means I need coke. Obviously, I also need coke for the iron, the steel ingots. So this is a little bit more significant than I probably would have needed if I was just dealing with iron and steel. But with this whole kind of small little base idea, I think I would incorporate all of this. And then the final element would be this one, with the uranium power. Because obviously these are difficult. I do very much enjoy building these things. Don't get me wrong, but they do take a lot of time. You know, everyone is different. I've said everyone is individual to the space that I've tried to squeeze and ram it in. You know, into the box that I have available to me. But it would be quite nice to have the standard just go bomp with a whole factory. So, you know, in my mind, if we're looking at this base, I think this portion of it, and potentially maybe even I would incorporate the rocket silos into it as well. So, you know, probably 60% of this factory, in an ideal world, I would have a blueprint for, and I would just dump it on the base. I suppose it's definitely worth mentioning. I think I would have to not be doing the time lapse. You know, I don't like just copying a blueprint. The time lapse always looks a bit crap. So from a time lapse perspective, I do quite like the idea of hand building it and everyone being a little bit unique, you know, and bespoke to what I need at any one particular moment. Because, you know, if I went with that approach of building a small factory, it would have to be very, very general. It would have to be built to deal with a lot of different purposes that, you know, I might not necessarily need on any particular planet. So it is, and from a timeless perspective, that is quite nice. But from a work perspective, it's a lot of work. Anyway, that's kind of where that's a whole bit of another ramble. Right, let's carry on with the factory. So down here we've got the uranium power and the iron and steel. And then we've got just the pulverizers that are going to deal with all of the holmium. I don't know what it is. Something like that. Yeah, it's just going to crush it, and then I'm going to put that on a rocket. Like I have dealt with all the other ones, to be honest. I did think about building all of the infrastructure on this base, on this planet, for processing the iridium proper. My limit on doing that up to this point has always been the nitric acid. I didn't really want to deal with shipping nitric acid intergalactically, or any of the elements that that are required for it. And it wouldn't have just been the nitric acid. We would have needed cryonite rods and plastic. We would need a whole load of things, you know. And if we've got, say, in my mind, if we've got, say, 4 rockets of delivering stuff to this planet in order to make, I mean, cause I think we're going to need 3 or 4 different elements, things of holmium, holminite. I think that goes into 3 or 4 things that then need to go into science. So then to have those 3 or 4 rockets as well, you know, maybe 7 or 8 rockets just to process and to deliver the results of that processing. Instead, all I need is 1 rocket with the crushed stuff. It just feels simpler in my mind. And I know I'm building up issues because I'm going to have to, because I'm now moving all of this holminite to novice, or that's what I'm going to do next, to be processed into the things that we need for science, and then that stuff's going to have to go on another rocket, however many rockets I need to deliver, however many components I need to get onto the platform. So it feels like there's like a few different rocket journeys along the way, and I don't know if I'm making it hard work for myself, but it does definitely feel like bringing in 4 or 5 rockets to launch 3 or 4 rockets from here. That would have been more hard work. I don't know. Regardless, this is the approach that I'm following now. So the next thing that I need to do is I need to go to novice, and I need to set up the factories that are related to these processes. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It just means that novice gets all of those things as a given, and, you know, it's nice to have all of the advanced materials. You know, I've got those advanced materials from those earlier blocks of science. I haven't routed them through to any of the bits of novice that need it. You know, the heavy bearings, the girders, all of that stuff. There's some stuff in the shopping mall that needs those that it would be nice to have, but I don't think I can unlock them with the science yet. And I'm not lacking them. I'm not missing them. I'm not craving for them. So it doesn't, you know, I can wait. That's not important. Anyway, that's the pulverizers. Then we got the standard kind of rocket silo approach. These are just copied from the other ones that I've done. You know, it's not too dissimilar. Now, I've built a lot of these rocket silos now, and I've come to figure out the problems with them. And I don't know if it was obvious from the beginning, but they're not compatible with each other. I didn't build them to be, you know, these kind of the landing pads, the output belts, the belts that kind of put the cargo parts and the capsules back into the loops. They don't really line up with the cargo, with the conveyor belts that I've got set up for the silos. So every time I set these up, there's like this horrible jiggling act where I have to join them together. So in future, if I was ever to do this again, because I'm not going to do it again, you know, I'm not going to start building a new one. I don't think. Not yet anyway. Maybe on the next planet. But yeah, in the future, it would be nice to set this up so that they're kind of compatible with each other, so I can kind of sit them next to each other. Yeah, it's a definite improvement. And also, I think if I was going to do that, I would come up with some standard modules for delivering the segments. You know, I'd probably develop a whole panel just for this, and then I'd probably do the same again for the missile defense. I might want more missile defense, to be honest. I mean, this planet seems to get... It seems to be quite vulnerable to meteors. It gets hit quite a lot. I just got hit by another one. I don't know if you noticed. So I don't know if I need more of them. I suppose I can put them up here. That wouldn't be the end of the world. Anyway, so that's this planet. I know I need to turn it all on, and that's what's going to happen next. We need to get it all going. In terms of what we need to do after this, I've just been talking about it. We need to go back to Novice and set up all of the factory that's going to be required for this holmonite processing. And then once we've done that, we can maybe get to space. I don't know how long any of this is going to take, so we don't know what's going to be covered in this episode. Now, and I suppose go back to the last thing that I covered in the last time. You know, the structure. Obviously, I was not strong enough, nowhere near strong enough to defeat whatever is in there. I couldn't even get past the first entry level boss, so to speak. So I obviously need a much stronger set of armor, and I need a whole lot of combat robots. Now I could probably game the system a little bit. I could probably go in there with some turrets, bosh a few turrets down in the few seconds that I've got before they start reducing my health too badly. And because I've got autofill, it will just automatically put ammunition in those turrets and probably remove quite a lot of them. I could also potentially throw a nuclear bomb in there. You know, I could run in, launch a nuclear bomb and leave. There's a potential that if there's something in there that I need to collect, I might just blow it up. Now that would be a bad thing, so I don't really want to do that. But I don't want to do the turrets either. I feel like I'm gaming the system. What I really want to do in my world, in my kind of my perfect game, I want to just walk in there with whatever laser turrets I've got in my armor, with I don't know, a dozen or two combat robots. And in a minute or two, I just want all of that to just obliterate it. I don't want to have to do anything. And I don't want to have to be in danger at any point. So I'm going to I don't need... Whatever it is in there, I don't need it. So periodically, as I upgrade things, I'm just going to try it out. I'm just going to run in there and see how good the armor is and how good the upgrades that I've made to it are. And if I can't defeat it, then I'll come out and we'll wait a little while longer. And we're going to see what happens. I'll get to it. I want to be all powerful. I want to be all powerful. That's the way I want to play the game. That's the way I want to defeat those things. So that's the plan. And what I'm going to ask you. You probably may know what's in those things. You may know how many of them are, where to find them, blah blah blah. Please let that be a mystery for me. I'm quite excited about the mystery of it, and I'm quite, you know, the idea of tackling it. That's very pleasing to me. So please don't ruin that. That's the only. I mean, I think that's the only time I've asked. But that's the idea of a dungeon in this game. I just think it's brilliant. Just brilliant. Just another thing. Just another cool thing to do. And anyway, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to turn this base on, get it running. I mean, that's not trivial. That might take a little while. I mean, it won't take very long from your perspective. And then we're going to run over to Novice, build some factory, and then hopefully, I mean, I don't know how long that's going to take, but hopefully we should be getting to science. We're getting back to science this episode. That's the plan. So let's get on with it. So that's a big part of energy science down. 3 parts of it. I haven't done the 4th part. And we're going to have to take a little pause here. And the reason being is because this whole energy science, this doesn't just provide us with the new energy technologies that we want, solar panels and stuff, which, you know, all very useful stuff, but it also just uses an enormous amount of power, particularly these things down here. Oh, what are they? They're particle accelerators. 100 megawatts apiece. 100 megawatts apiece. I reckon these, what is it, 8, 10, 14 things are probably using about the same as the rest of my base combined. So, we're going to have to take a little bit of a pause here because I'm going to have to upgrade my power. And that's kind of led me in a different thought process because I've been thinking about this for a little while and I think it's probably time to start addressing it now. But over here, we've got the shopping mall. Or at least a complete mess. You know, my normal approach with these shopping malls is to build everything, because at some point in time, all of that stuff's going to become really, really useful. So it might be a little bit of time to set it up and to route all the conveyor belts through, but, you know, once progression through the base should be easier as a result of doing that. But that's what I started to do with these. And a few things. Number one, these manufactories are a complete pain in the backside to build around, because they're just ginormous. There's very little elegance with them. And also, you know, we don't need much of these units. You know, the game kind of caught me out right at the beginning. I think over here, I've got telescopes. I've got a thing making telescopes. And I set this up right at the beginning because that's what I started with astrological science. And I thought this would be really useful. And I didn't. I needed like, what, 24 of them, I think? So I set this all up for nothing, really. So it's kind of where I've ended up with this, because I kind of gave up setting it up for each and every unit. It was just a nightmare. What I've ended up with is just one manufactory with a whole load of boxes of stuff. And then if I need something, I just come in here, tell it what I need. And then when I finish telling it what I need, I just turn it off again. And then I put all of the stuff back in the box. Oh, I'm in satellite view. And I put all the stuff back in the box. So I've just got one manufactory, and whenever I need something, I just come over here and I do it, because I never need a few of these things. It's not a lot. So all of this shopping mall, I feel like, is pointless, minus a few bits and pieces like the scaffold, the plating. I think I've unlocked plating. I should probably get that going. The space assembly machines and the pipes. Potentially manufactories and these chemical. I've probably got enough of them now, to be honest. This is probably it. This little bit here is all I need. So, and, you know, I want power, so I need some solar panels. So I need to start building some much greater capacity solar panels. These ones are not good enough. And I've unlocked them. I just need to find somewhere to build it. So, also, I've got spaceships. I've got a whole lot of extra things that I need to build for spaceships. And I want to get that going. So where I've arrived is that I'm going to demolish most of this. In fact, I'm going to demolish all of this. We also have conveyor belts down here. I'm just going to leave conveyor belts because they're feeding the space science. And they're kind of separate off. I can leave those alone. I'm just going to demolish everything in this kind of quadrant. I'm just going to start from scratch. I'm going to have one manufactory that deals with all of the buildings that I need. I'm just going to route more or less everything to it, and then, as I said, turn it on, off and on as and when I need. And I'm going to set up all of that stuff, the solar panels and the spaceships. But all of that stuff, I think, is going to have to come in the next episode, because I am all beat up with this one. I was really, really, really hoping to get to the Science Pack 4. I suppose I'm not a million miles away. I'm being harsh on myself. But yeah, that's the episode, I'm afraid. That is it. A lot of stuff done this one. Oh, and before I go, just a few things I want to kind of settle, because I've had a few questions, a few comments. I just want to get it out so that we all know where we are. Now, SPM. I've set up SPM in Helmod. I've just told Science. I've just told this to give me 1 science per second. So that is effectively 60 science per minute. That's what I'm building, mostly. You know, it's not going to achieve that because we've got 28 different sciences. And, you know, the idea of calculating the requirements for all those simultaneous 28 sciences not worthwhile. And to be honest, what is SPM in these sorts of mods when we have that many different sciences? What is SPM? So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that that's the SPM that I'm building. I'm fully aware that I'm not going to achieve that, but I just like to have some kind of target, because I just like to have some kind of target, just so I know approximately how many units I need. One of these processes, which one was it? I think it's this one here. I think the Hell mod tells me I need 12 of these. I just put down 8. If I need more, I can put some speed modules in there, but I'm not going to achieve 60 science per minute. So this doesn't matter. It's just got to be in the approximate ballpark. That's really all I'm trying to get at with this science. That's really what I'm building. I want it to have some kind of capacity. I want it to have some kind of throughput. I don't want it to be nothing. If I'm going to put some time into something, then I want at least to put something that's worthwhile. So that's kind of my mindset with the SPM. The other thing was I had a question about how I'm finding it since I got access to requester chests. And the simple fact is that I'm not using them. I'm not using them. The only thing that I need my robot network for is to deliver space capsules on Novice. I don't have any other significant robot networks anywhere. If we just look at this platform, for example, turn off the power. That's my robot network. This is me. I'm just not using robots. Now, I intended to use robots. I had it in the back of my mind that at some point I was going to set up robots on all of these bases, because the damage caused by these meteors is painful. And plus, the idea of me whizzing around physically and making and adjusting these factories when there's problems, rather than having some kind of comprehensive robot network with some construction robots that I can just do via satellite view, that is obviously very attractive, and that was something that I was working towards. But the way that it's panned out, it's not I didn't plan it this way, but that's the way that it's panned out is that that's not what's happened. And it's happened for a few different reasons. So one of the reasons why I need robots is for train fuel, and I've done all those on conveyor belts. So that's one big thing that I don't need anymore. I'm doing that on all bases. That's one big reason. Another really big reason, actually, probably one of the biggest, more significant ones, is that my inventory, like the stuff that I have, the inventory request for my robot network. I'm pressing all sorts of different buttons here. Here we go. This stuff, I've set this up for the robot network to deliver me my resources and stuff from Novice to the factory, and I turned it off hundreds of hours ago, and I never turned it on again. And the simple reason is because every time I go to a different planet, I need a different set of resources, particularly when I come up here to the platform, because all of this stuff pretty much in here, in this whole panel that I'm requesting, none of this stuff would be usable up here other than maybe the inserters. Everything else would just be applicable only on the main planets. So the idea of me constantly faffing and changing what I'm requesting from my inventory robots, my logistic robot network, that just became a complete nightmare. The system that I've actually ended up with is that I've got a couple of chests on each base, and I just empty all of my inventory before I leave that planet. I just empty everything into those chests, and then when I go to that planet, I just pick everything up from those chests. And I've kind of got into a system of doing that where I've just been lumping inventory into chests, jumping on a rocket with nothing in my inventory, and then picking up what I need at the other end. And it's worked really, really well. And I mean, and let's not beat around the bush. There's a very high, significant cost of robots in both power usage. I mean, and this is relevant to where I am right now, because I'm about 50% of where I need with my power. That's a bit of a misnomer. Oh, maybe I've come back. Anyway, power on all of these planets has been a problem. Even setting up nuclear is not a given, because it takes some time to build up the levels of U238 and U235 in the system that I need to be able to run power indefinitely. That takes time, and I almost need to set up enough solar panels to run the factory entirely until we reach that point. So I've almost got, by the time nuclear power is running, I've almost got kind of twice But I don't want to push. I don't want to push my luck with these robots. I mean, that's the first cost is power. The second cost is UPS. I'm very, very nervous about unleashing thousands of robots on this world with these enormous bases that I'm building. I mean, the game is already starting to struggle just a little bit. Just a little bit. Nothing that's going to make me stop playing just yet, but enough for me to notice. Like, if I was to, I don't know, 50% more factory, I think I'd be in big trouble. So, I don't think I need 50% more factory. I think I'm probably dealing with another 10, 15, 20%. The stuff that I need for the rest of this science up here and for Vitamelange and a few other bits and pieces. I don't think we're talking about an extra 50% of factory. So I'm hoping if I keep the robots off the network that I can keep both the power drawdown and I can keep the UPS sensible. Now, I know this makes me look like a bit of a Neanderthal, not using robots, particularly with space, because, as I just said, we're traveling all over the place, having to play with different parts of the factory, different moments in time. It's very, very useful to have a robot network to be able to do those things for us. And the idea that I haven't done that does make me feel like a bit of a barbarian. But, in my defense, I didn't plan on doing it this way. It just feels like that's where I've ended up. And now that I don't have robots, the effort of putting them in and changing the way that I play the game at this point is probably too much. And ultimately, the way that I played the game, everything is on a conveyor belt. So it's not all that bad. I mean, it's a bit more of a pain in the arse for me, but I do feel like a Neanderthal. But, that's the way that it is. I just got to come clean. So that's it. Those are the two things that I just wanted to clarify at the end of this episode. Because I'm sure maybe you might be wondering. Anyway, that's it. I hope it's been good. Till next time.